Good Friday evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another thrilling Beer 30 Sanity session. And to start off the Sanity session today, before I take my first swallow, you go ahead, don't let me hold you up. I want to tell you, I want to summarize a short story that I finished reading yesterday. I'd read it before, but it's really a good message in it, so I think I'll lead off with that. Then when I get through with my little short story, I'll have me a big old swallow of beer and go on with some stories of back in Kennedy, Texas when I was a kid. But anyway, the name of the short story is The Verger, Verger. And as I understand it, a verger is just somebody that helps out at a church, basically gets everything organized and sees that the preacher or priest or whoever has everything that they need to conduct whatever services they're conducting. Anyway, he's a verger. And he'd been at this one church for 15 years. And they got a new boss, a new preacher, I'll get it out here, priest or preacher or something, but the leader of the church for that denomination. And he'd been there about a week, and he called the verger into his office, and there were a couple of directors also in the room. And the priest or whoever it was asked the verger, he said, "Can you read or write?" And the verger said, "No, I can't read or write, and I haven't been able to read or write since I've been here. I've never learned. I was always a little slow or whatever." But be that as it may, so they put him on notice that if he couldn't learn to read or write in 1 month, he was going to be terminated. Well, he didn't want to waste anybody's time. The verger didn't. And so he told him, he said, "Look, I might as well quit because there's no way that I can learn to read and write at my age now." Apparently he was in his mid-50s, approaching 60, which at that time was old. And so this was a book that was written in the late 1800s. But anyway, or a short story. So anyway, the verger leaves, and when he felt really, he was really down, because he'd been there like 15 years. He felt like he was really an important part of the church or whatever, and so he was kind of the old hang dog, you know what I mean? And he's walking down the street. He's in London, England, big city at that time, and he goes down this. He wanted a cigarette. All of a sudden, he wanted a cigarette. He smoked a cigarette every now and then, and every now and then he'd allow himself to drink a beer, kind of like me. And so he was walking down this side street, and he couldn't find a tobacconist, somebody that sold tobacco, cigarettes, or whatever. So he thought, well, he'd go down another street, and he did. And he went down another street, and another street, and another street, and he couldn't find one. So anyway, he gets home, and he's sitting there thinking, and his wife says, "I know, he'd already told her about being laid off." She said, "Well, I know you're distraught." And he said, "Well, actually, I'm not." He said, "I got an idea." Because he had a little savings, because, he's very frugal over those 15 years that he was working. And so he had a little nest egg, but not enough to live on until, he couldn't really fully retire. So the next morning he gets up and he walks down one of those streets, and he finds a small shop that was for rent. And he thought, how neat. I'm going to open me a little tobacco shop and candy shop and see what happens. So he did. He contacted the landlord. Make the short story long, in a few months, he had 6 of those tobacco candy shops, and he was making money hand over fist. Well, a few months go by, and he had 9, okay? But he couldn't read or write, okay? He learned how to write his name so he could sign documents. But he'd let his wife check things out. But anyway, enough said. So here he's got 9 of these shops, money's rolling in, and he went in the bank to make a deposit, and the banker called him over to the side, and he says, "Sir," he said, "do you know how much money you've got in your account?" And the ex-verger says, "Well, yeah, within a few pounds, I sure do, or a few dollars, I sure do." And he said, "Well, you got a lot." And the guy said, "Well, yeah, I do, I know." And he said, "Well, why don't you invest it?" And he said, "Well, I don't want to take any risk." But the bank says, "Well, we can buy gilt-edge securities, which are basically risk-free, and that way you'd be earning a little interest on your money, and I'd feel better, and so would you." So anyway, the guy said, "Well, okay, well, we'll work on that at some point in time." But at the same time, he had an idea. He thought, well, he thought he would go buy. He was no. He had another idea about doing something with his money. But anyway, the banker said, he said, well, here, you need to sign these documents. And the guy looks at the document. He said, man, he said, I can't read, and I can write my name, and that's all. And the banker looked at him and said, you mean that you've done all this and you can't read or write? And the guy says, that's correct. Yeah, I can't read or write. And the banker said, just think what you would be if you could read and write. And the guy looked at him and said, I know, a verger. He'd still be working at church. Anyway, but there's a message in that. And now it's Beer 30. So those of you that, think that if you get laid off or bad things happen, that it's really all negative, it may not be. It may not be. You may still be a verger 10 years from now. Who knows? But here's to you, here's to me. Should we ever disagree, here's to me. Chug-a-lug, Friday night Sanity session. But yeah, there's and another reason I thought that kind of hit home with me is because of this young man, Forrest, with his name is Forrest, and he does forestry or whatever he does. He trims trees and cuts down trees and all that stuff and sells firewood. And he started when he was 22. Now he's 27, and his business has grown. So what has that got to do with Beer 30? Everything. Stay drunk. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Here's to you. Here's to me. Now we'll get into something. We're going to talk about when I grew up in Kennedy, Texas. I grew up on a farm. I'm 77 years old, so this all goes back into the mid 1950s. These stories are around that era when I was 10 to 12 years old or younger. For the first one, it will be when I was younger. I was about, maybe 6 or 7 years old. My daddy had a 12 gauge shotgun, and my brother would use it. And I had a brother 6 years older than I was, so that made him 12 or 12ish. So, and he was big enough to hold the shotgun and fire it and all that stuff. So, but anyway, my brother liked to pull cruel pranks on me, and I mean, he was brutal. I'm telling you, he was brutal. And anyway, well, one day he got the shotgun and a couple of shells, and we went out near the hog pens. He said, you want to fire the shotgun? I said, yeah, hell yeah, man. I'd never fired a shotgun in my life. And he said, well, you're going to get to fire one today. And so anyway, we get out there, and he hands me the shotgun, and I kind of knew what to do. I'd just never done it. And he said, now just put the shotgun up there loosely on your shoulder. Wrong. Wrong. You know what I mean? So anyway, I kind of held it up there close. You know what I mean? And he said, now just kind of squeeze the trigger. I was shooting at some cans that we'd stacked up. Boom. Well, it had a hell of a recoil or kick. I mean, it liked to knock me down, because you should hold it firm against your shoulder, you know what I mean? So that when it fires, it's not the recoil doesn't hit you like this, it pushes you, you understand? Big difference. So anyway, that was my welcome to firing a shotgun. And I want you to know my shoulder was bruised all the way down like this the next day. And I only fired it twice. But having said that, moving along, that was a little bit too powerful of a shotgun for me. And then later on, I don't know if Daddy got it for himself or what, but it was a 20 gauge pump shotgun, which is a little lighter, not quite as much kick, but still powerful enough to go dove hunting with or bird hunting with and all that other stuff. And we did that. We did all of that stuff. But another event that I'll mention, but before I do, I'll take a swaller of beer. That was the shotgun adventure. Okay, that's that one. Yeah, for those of you that are going to fire a shotgun, snug. You know what I mean? Enough said about that. Also, my father was a crack shot with a pistol and a rifle and a shotgun. He didn't waste any ammo. When he pulled the trigger, something died. All right? I mean, I'm not kidding you. Or something got hit. But be that as it may. We were out one evening. It was right about dark. And anyway, Daddy had his pistol. I don't know if he'd been firing it or not, but it was just a 22. It was a 22 high standard or something, just a basic. It had like a clip you put in it. I think it held 9 rounds. But anyway, we were. Oh, I had a pistol too. I was older. I was like 14 at this time. I had a pistol too, and it was a 22. And a coyote was off about, I don't know, 100 yards away. And Dad said, "See if you can hit that coyote." I said, "Are you kidding me? 100 yards with this? That's like a BB gun. He said, "Well, see what you can do." So anyway, I took aim and nothing. A coyote's still over there. Didn't notice anything. I don't even think the bullet hit close enough to him to get his attention. Well, anyway, my dad took his pistol. Or he had his 22, and I want you. He aimed for this kind of shit, and then pow, and he hit that damn coyote. That coyote ran around in a circle and gone. That's 100 yards, man, with a pistol. No, man, he's awesome. And what else? What else could he do? Then we'll get back to me. But yeah, he had a 270 deer rifle, bolt action. I think it held three or four rounds, 3 in the chamber. Well, it had a little clip. That's what it was. Is that right? Yeah, it had a little clip, little magazine. But I think it only held like 2 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. Anyway, whatever it was, wasn't much. And it had a scope and all that stuff. So we were driving around the truck one day in the pickup. It was him, my uncle, and my brother and I in the back. And anyway, they pulled over to look at some crops in the field. They got out and they were looking, and Wilbur, that was my uncle's name, told my dad, said, "Hey, see if you can see those geese way over there." And there was geese probably a quarter mile away, man. You couldn't even hardly see. You couldn't even hardly tell it was geese, And so, and Dad said, "Well, I might be able to pull that off." So anyway, he leaned across the hood of the truck there, took a bead. He killed two geese in 2 shots. You got me? Shit, I'm telling you, man, it was a quarter mile. No, he was lethal, man. And I heard a lot of people talked about how good a shot he was. How he got to be such a good shot, I do not know. All I know, he was damn lethal. And bird hunting, same way, man. If he took a box of shells, I think there was 20 in the box. He'd come back with 22 birds. I mean, no kidding. Because sometimes you get a double. No, he didn't. He was good. But enough said about him. My hunting experience, I'll tell you a story. And I think I may have told you this one before, and I'll see if I don't add too much flavor so you can. I mean, I'm not going to add too much flavor to it, but I may take some liberties. But anyway, I was about 10, and my grandfather had left us a 22 rifle, but it was only about, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet long. Not very long, just short, but it was a 22, but it was a lever action, and you cranked it down, put in 1 round, cranked it back up, pulled the hammer back, and fired it, 1 shot at a time. If you could get off 3 rounds in 10 minutes, you were damn quick. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, I had that, and that was my weapon. That was pretty much my gun, or my rifle. And so then, in Kennedy, Texas, that time there was just a number of coyotes, and coyotes could just wreak havoc with chickens and other things around your home, particularly chickens. And so there was a bounty on coyotes, $5 for a pair of ears, and you had to have the strip between the ears. You couldn't just bring in 1 ear and 1 ear and try to get $10. It had to have the skin attaching the ears. I know that's cruel and unusual punishment, but that's the way it was, and coyotes were damaging people's chicken pens and eliminating chickens. So I thought, well, hell, I know where there's a coyote den. Now, coyotes live underground. They dig holes. And down in our pasture, in a small little open area, there was a coyote den. No kidding. I had actually seen them come and go from there. There was probably, I don't know, half a dozen holes in the ground, and they live in pairs, males and females, and have their kids and all that stuff. And pretty damn smart, because in the hot Texas summer, they're at 68 degrees underground, pretty nice. Mouth's getting dry. Hold on. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I went down to the pasture with my 22. I probably took a dozen rounds with me. And the rifle was, back then if you had a 22, they would some of them would fire all 3, but this particular rifle would only fire 22 long rifles. the rim fire things. You know what I mean? And not center fire, rim fire. And so they also made 22 shorts, 22 longs, and then 22 long rifles. It was just a little bigger ammo. And, the 22 is about like this. You know what I mean? Long rifle. Just it's powerful enough to kill you. I'll tell you that. But be that as it may, I'm down there. I went down. I thought, well, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna find me a tree about 20 yards or so. An easy shot. From the coyote den. And then when the sun goes down, and they come out and get ready to go howling or whatever they're going to do, well, I'm fixing to take out about 10 of them. I'm fixing to make me $50. And $50 back then was the equivalent of 1,000 a day, or a lot. Anyway, so I go down, I climb up the mesquite tree, and the mesquite tree was probably, the limb I was on was probably, it wasn't very high, 10, 12 feet off the ground. I don't know why I picked it. Hell, I was only like 10 years old, man. All of this wasn't genius thinking, you know what I mean? $5, go kill a cow, duh. Don't worry about anything in between. Well, it was a moonless night. That was a mistake. Big mistake, as it turns out. So anyway, I get down there before dark, climb up the tree, get all comfortable, kind of get where I can, good position, where I can get a good shot off. Well, guess what? Sunset, started to get dark, no coyotes. I thought, well, shit, if they don't come out pretty soon, I won't be able to see them in the dark. I won't be able to aim, Well, sure enough, it gets dark. And I thought, well, shit. I'm ready to get out of here. Well, I was wrong. Then they started coming out of their holes, and what they do is when they come out, they'll run around in circles and bark and shit. All kind. They make the craziest noises, man. Well, here I am, within 20 yards of probably a dozen coyotes running around in circles. They'd run up under the tree and bark and all that crap. I mean, I could barely see them in the darkness, but I knew they were there because I could hear them, man. I didn't have a flashlight, nothing. All I had was a single shot 22 rifle with about a dozen rounds in my pocket. Couldn't see crap, And anyway, so they barked around there, and I was thinking, well, maybe if I fired a shot, they'd run off. Well, then I thought, well, what if I fired a shot and wounded one? Then I really got a mess, And I thought, well, you can fire a shot up in the air, but I didn't. I didn't do that because I was afraid I was going to make the mess worse. So anyway, finally, after about 30 minutes, I didn't hear any noise. I thought, well, shit, they're gone. And I could hear them barking way off, because they do. As they're running, they're barking. You know what I mean? They're making all kind of crazy noise. Boy, my mouth is dry now. Here's to you. So anyway, I get down, and I'm heading back home. And it's only about a mile to the house. God dang. Guess whose chickens they were after that night? Ours. All right? So as I'm going back to the house, here comes the coyote gang going back to their place, all right? God. And it was pitch black. All I could hear was them barking. They're not going to attack humans. I don't think I've ever heard of a coyote attacking a human, but I didn't know that then. But anyway, I could hear them, man. They were right beside me. Anyway, I went from age 10 or whatever it was to age 50 like that. So anyway, that was my well-planned expedition to kill coyotes, which turned out to be a big fat zero. I didn't get anything. So enough said about that. And what else can I tell you? Well, let's see. We used to go bird hunting and stuff, and but back then, we actually ate whatever we killed pretty much. I mean, of course, we didn't eat coyotes, but if you killed birds, we'd take them home, and back then we didn't. Whenever you kill a dove, now they breast them. You clean cut it and clean reach up and clean the intestines out, and then you just hold the bird and you breast it. And you just pull the breast off and throw the wings shit away. Well, back then you didn't. We actually picked the feathers off and all that crap. And so if you killed 10 or 12 birds, you had a little work to do. And but what I would do, I found out real quick that shooting birds on the wing, that may be fair and sporting, but if there's 12 lined up on a limb of a tree, and I've got 2 rounds, that's all I could afford that day. How about, hello, birds? Did I do that? Hell yeah, man. Yeah, but very rarely did I let one get away that was wounded. But enough said about that. So that's kind of the hunting expedition. There were other things we did. We went to deer hunting at a place called, it was in, what was the name of that county? It's a famous county in Texas. I may think of it as I get through this story. get into the story. We used to go down there a week a year because a gas company had put a pipeline across our property, and as part of the compensation, we got to go down their deer lease in South Texas and hunt deer. We didn't have deer where we were in Karnes County, or there might have been a few, but they were small runts. But you go down to this place in Southwest Texas, and there were some nice deer there, so we'd go down there. And the only thing I remember there was my brother again. He was out walking somewhere, and he run up on some wild hogs, and he came back into the campsite, and he said, "Hey, Rusty, you want to get a deer?" And I said, "Shit, yeah, man." And of course, I think, did I have a weapon then? I'm sure I did. I must have had something. I don't remember what it was, but be that as it may, I took whatever it was, and the way I went out where he told me to go, I went right into the middle of about 100 javelinas. They could have killed me. You know what I mean? I think that's what he wanted them to do. I never did see a deer. Maybe he wasn't lying, but that's enough said. My brother was pretty damn cruel. But what else can I tell you guys about growing up in South Texas on a farm? Not a hell of a lot. Not a hell of a lot. Other than it was a great life, and some I can't remember everything. You know what I mean? I can't remember all the stuff we did, or even some of the bigger items kind of escape me now at my age. But here's to you. Here's to me. It's Friday evening, Sanity session. Guys, all I can tell you is enjoy your life the best way you can. Next week, I'm going to be going on a trip somewhere, probably. I'm not sure where yet. But I'm going to continue to do stuff as I can, while I can, because, there's places that I've enjoyed being before, and I'll go back to some of those now and check them out, probably, starting next week. And with that in mind, guys, what else? Oh, let's see what this thing does.
Choose hope. Accept yourself. You are a good person. You are special.
I know that. Jesus Christ, man, everybody knows that. And then this is the button that you...
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horse shit.
Well, I can't help it. It's all I got. But anyway, guys, from Capitan, New Mexico, on a Friday evening, beer 30, sanity session, ding, ding, ding. Stand guard at the door of your mind. But anyway, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, enjoy your life one day or one moment at a time, and stay sane, do the best you can. As far as somebody said that saying don't watch the news is negative. I don't know how that, I understand how you could get that out of that, but what I'm saying is positive. Don't watch the negative news, okay? But anyway, what else? Use the Amazon link, drink plenty of beer, water, wine, whatever the hell you want to do, water. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, enjoy your life because, man, I'm telling you, man, it gets by, I'm telling you. Anyway, guys, enjoy your Friday evening and your weekend. Carry on. Bye-bye.